They called it the plant of immortality. Not because it lived forever, but because it refused to let anything else die. For 5,000 years, it survived every empire that tried to claim it. Every war that swept through the valleys where it grew. Every drought that reduced whole civilizations to silence. It asked for nothing. It stored what it needed inside itself. And it waited. Today it sits in a plastic pot on a windowsill. Reduced to a novelty. A first aid afterthought. Something people remember when they burn themselves in the kitchen. This is not the whole story. Welcome to Ancient Food Files, a channel dedicated to what the modern world buried, forgot, or never thought to look for. If this kind of knowledge matters to you, subscribe. Because what we uncover here, we preserve. Together. Before you continue watching, please check the link I provided in this video's description. That way, you can verify it yourself. Now, open the archive. The earliest record of aloe vera is not a botanical text. It is a tomb. Inside the burial chambers of ancient Egypt, archaeologists found aloe among the offerings placed alongside the dead, pressed into the walls, painted into the record of what mattered. The Egyptians called it sakal in some texts, and in others simply the plant of immortality. It was not a metaphor. They meant it with the literalness of people who had watched it work. Its origins trace further back, to the Arabian Peninsula, to the dry coastal regions of North Africa, to the places where soil is thin and rain is a rumor. Indigenous populations across these regions knew the plant long before Egypt gave it a name. They understood that its thick, succulent leaves were not merely fleshy, they were vessels. Each leaf a sealed chamber holding a translucent gel rich with moisture, enzymes, and compounds the desert had no business producing. The biology of aloe is not subtle. It belongs to a class of plants that metabolize differently from most living things. Where other plants open their pores to the heat of the day and lose water into the air, aloe breathes only at night. It closes itself against the sun. It hoards. Its gel, that clear, dense interior substance, is a suspension of polysaccharides, amino acids, vitamins, and enzymes that remain biochemically active long after the leaf is severed from the root. This is why the dead could carry it with them. It did not spoil quickly. It did not require refrigeration or ceremony to remain useful. It simply persisted. Cut, it continued. Dried, it could be reconstituted. Burned, its ash still held properties the Egyptians understood without the vocabulary to explain them. The Greeks called it aloe, borrowed from the Arabic aloa, meaning bitter and shining substance. Alexander the Great, according to his historian Nearchus, was advised by Aristotle himself to conquer the island of Socotra specifically to secure its aloe groves for his army's wounds. This was not legend. Socotra's aloe stands remain some of the most ancient on earth. Soldiers across 3 continents carried it into wars that have since been forgotten. In 1862, the Ebers Papyrus was discovered in a tomb near Luxor, a medical document dating to approximately 1550 BCE. It listed 12 distinct formulas incorporating aloe. For burns, for infections, for embalming preparations, for cosmetic applications used on the royal dead. Cleopatra, according to multiple classical sources, attributed the preservation of her skin to 2 substances, aloe gel and aloe oil. She was not wrong. And then came the industry. By the mid-20th century, aloe had been discovered by commerce. Cosmetic companies began extracting the gel for creams and lotions. Pharmaceutical companies studied its compounds. And in doing so, they encountered the problem that living systems always present to industrial ones. It was difficult to standardize. Fresh aloe degrades. It oxidizes. The most biologically active compounds, the asmannan polysaccharides, the bradykinase enzymes, begin to break down within hours of extraction unless carefully handled. Industry solved this problem by stabilizing it, processing it, diluting it, filling bottles with products that contained, in some cases, less than 1% of what the original plant produced. The whole plant became inconvenient. The raw leaf, unmanageable. Faster to synthesize adjacent compounds, to patent adjacent molecules, than to work with something that grew slowly, needed specific soil, and could not be entirely owned. Modern science has returned to what the Egyptians recorded. A 2009 study published in the Journal of Environmental Science and Health confirmed aloe's broad antimicrobial action against bacterial strains resistant to synthetic antibiotics. A 2015 review in the Journal of Traditional and Complementary Medicine documented its wound healing acceleration at the cellular level, specifically its stimulation of fibroblast proliferation, the biological mechanism responsible for forming new tissue. Research at the University of Belgrade and separately at Mahidol University in Thailand has identified aloe polysaccharides as modulators of immune response. Not dramatic, not pharmaceutical-grade marketing. Just quiet, measurable confirmation. The ancients observed what the instruments now measure. There is a kind of cultural forgetting that is not accidental. When something becomes associated with poverty, with desperation, with the remedies of people who had no other choice, its history follows them into silence. Aloe was for centuries the medicine of enslaved and colonized populations across Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, carried by people who carried very little, used in conditions where formal medicine was inaccessible or simply absent. And in the 20th century, when those same cultures began finding voice and visibility, the plant was not reclaimed with them. It was absorbed into a beauty industry that stripped it of context and sold it back as luxury. The knowledge did not travel with the commodity. We are entering an era of accelerating instability. Antibiotic resistance is advancing faster than pharmaceutical development can follow. Topsoil degradation is reducing the land available for conventional agriculture. Climate-driven drought is reshaping the geographies of food production. And in that landscape, aloe continues to grow in poor soil, without irrigation, without chemical inputs. It does not require what is becoming scarce. It was designed, over millions of years, for exactly the conditions that are arriving. The knowledge was never lost. It was reduced, displaced, packaged into something inert and sold in hotel amenities, but the plant persists. In the tombs of pharaohs where it was left as a gift for the dead, in the wound records of ancient armies, in the research papers of biochemists working today who keep arriving at the same place the Egyptians arrived at 5,000 years ago. Nature does not require our validation to continue. It does not need our memory to remain true. Aloe did not wait for us to remember it. It simply continued, in dry soil, under harsh sun, sealed against the world inside its own leaves. There is patience in that. There is something almost unbearable in that kind of patience. If this is the kind of knowledge that should not disappear again, subscribe to Ancient Food Files. We will keep opening what has been closed.